range operators. We use range operators to specify a range of numbers. So let's look at the example. Here I'm going to create a variable, but this time I'm going to do this here. I said let a. Here I give a value to variable a, but this time I set up a a series of numbers. For example, I say 10, I put 3 dots in between, and then I say 20. Here I have a variable a to have 10 numbers in it. So it means one variable holds 10 values. It's like an array in language. But this time we call this as a range operator. We use 3 dots to specify the number of values. So after I do this here, I can test it here. So I just say notice here I got a result here says that lower bound 10, upper bound 20. So I get a range of numbers from 10 to 20, and both 10 or 20 are included in this range. This is called a range operator with 3 dots in it. So the range is from 10 to 20. So if you click on the square here, you can see I can pull up the window for like this one here, lower bound, upper bound. So that's the range of this number. If you click on the little circle here, you can see this 10 and 20, which is the upper bound, lower bound, upper bound. So that's the range for this range operator. Use the 3 dots to set up this one here. And also, let me turn it off here so that I don't take a lot of space here. Next, I'm going to create another variable b here, and then this time I'm going to set up a range like this. I say 10 with only 2 dots in between, and then I put a 20 here, and this time 20 is not included in the range. Notice I got a syntax here. You do this here. So 10, 2 dots, and a bracket here, less than bracket here tells that the range is from 10 to 20, but 20 is not included. So right here, I'm going to run it here. You can see I say still lower bound 20, upper bound 20, lower bound 10, upper bound 20, but this time 20 is not included. So if I can still click on the circle here, 10 with lower bound, and 20 is the upper bound, but 20 in this syntax is excluded. It's not included. So that's the difference between the 2 dots and the 3 dots. That's how we set up the range operator. And we use range operator in loop. Next, we talk about a loop. In Swift, we have for loop, while loop, for in loop, repeat while loop. Now let's look at a for loop first. So I'm going to create a for loop here. We have learned for loop in Python, Java, C#, C, C++. The idea is exactly the same. The syntax are a little different, but the idea is the same. So if you learn COP 1000 Python class, you have learned what is for loop, what is while loop already. Here we show you how to do the same thing in Swift language. So here we create a for loop, still keyword for, that's the language keyword. And then we set up the variables. So here I say I, which is the variable called the loop control variable, in, keyword in, and then I have the range here. I say range A because I create a range right here, so now I'm using it. And then always give a curly brace. And what I do is I make something simple. I just say print. I print I. So that's pretty much I have here. Now let me run it. So now here it says 11 numbers from 10 to 20, 11 numbers here. So if I click on the square, I get this one here. So here it shows me the last number printed here, but if you look at the window here, you can see I got all these numbers printed on my screen, on my debug window here. So let me make it a little bigger. I can see that I got a number from 10 to 20 all printed here. See it right here. I start from 10, and then I can see 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 until to 20. So that's the numbers printed from this for loop. And from my square window here, I can see the last number printed here. So this is what I got here from this range A. Now I can do the same thing for range B. So I'm going to do this again for J in range B, and same thing, I'm going to print J. So let's see what do I get here. And notice here I printed 10 times with this loop. Means this loop repeated 10 times. This loop repeated 11 times because from 10 to 20, and this loop repeated 10 times. And the last number we see is 19. So you can see here, say 10, 11, 12, 13 until 19. Because with this range operator, we say the last upper bound number is excluded. So because we say that is less than 20, then 20 is not included. That's why we get this number printed here. That's how we use range operator with while loop, with for loop. Now the other way to do it is like this. I'm gonna create another for loop here. Let me turn it off. Instead of using the range operator variable, I'm gonna do this here. I say for k in, and immediately I'm just say 0, 3 dots, 5. Print k. So this time you can see when I run it, I got a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice here, because I set a range operator, instead of saving those range numbers into a variable, I put it here directly, and there it prints from 0 to 5. It tells me that I repeated it 5 times, this for loop. And of course, if I do like this, so this time, of course, I will have 5 repeats. You can see I got a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 only, because k, the last number 5 is excluded, only repeated 5 times. Because I say data less 5, so the last number, the upper bound number is excluded. I get this. So that's how we use the range operator with the for loop to control how many times to repeat. The only reason we use for loop is we want to repeat some process, some code. Like this one here, we want to repeat print. And we use for loop to tell how many times to repeat in the for loop. Now another way to do it is like this. And I added a parenthesis here to set up the range operator. You can always add parentheses. So right here we say 0 to 5, repeat 6 times. And then what I say is, right after it, I put a dot here. Use a function called reverse. Reversed, dot reversed. This is the function that we used to tell that when we repeat those when we repeat the code in the for loop, I want to do a reverse order. It means I want to go from 5 to 0, not a 0 to 5, reverse order. So here, I give the code here, saying print. Okay, now let's see what I got here. Run it. It says, still I repeat 6 times, but this time you can see I got it from 5 to 0. I got 5 to 0. This is the reverse for loop. Here we use a reverse function to control the order of the print, or we go from upper bound to lower bound. Normally we go from lower bound to upper bound, but this time when we say reversed, we want to go from upper bound order to lower bound order. This is the for loop. Next, let's talk about a while loop. So here I'm going to do this. I will create a variable here. And then I will start a while loop here. So while, keyword while. We use while in every computer programming language. Same thing in Swift. We say while, and then give a condition here. So the condition I give here is, I say while y is less than 50. That's the condition here. If this condition is true, we start a while loop. So right here, we say, I want to increase the value of y by 5 each time. And then I print y. Print y. Alright, so that's what we have here. Now let's run it to see what we get. Now this time you can see we start from 0 right here, but we increased by 5 each time. So right here you can see we got a 0, 5, 10, 15 and so on until to 50. Once it reached 50, we stop. So this is the while loop. While we print y, and before we print y, we increase the value of y by 5 each time. Starts from 0, so we say 0, 5 until once it becomes 50, then we come back to check condition again. If the condition is true, we continue to repeat the code. If condition is false, if condition is false, we stop. So this is the while loop. There's another way to write a while loop here. It's called a repeat while. So you do this. Use keyword repeat. And then we open the curly brace. Inside, before I do that, I'm going to create a variable, loop control variable here, var x. We start from 0, right? And right here inside, we increased value of x by 5 each time. So plus. And then still I print x, and this is the while loop. So of course we need to use keyword while. Condition is x is less than 50. So this is the called a repeat while. Repeat while. Let's see how it looks like. We still get it 10 times here. And then see right here we start from 5 to 50. 5 to 50. So because it starts from 0, and then before we print 0 at 5 becomes 5. That's why we get a 5 here. And then next time we get a 10, and next time we get a 15. Once it reaches 50, it will stop. Repeat while versus a while loop. These two loops do the same thing. The only difference is while loop, you check condition first. If condition is true, we get into repeat the code inside. That's while loop. Repeat while, we do first, and then we check condition. So with repeat while loop, no matter condition true or false, no matter condition is true or false, the code is always executed once. So it is like a do while loop in other computer languages. For example, that right here, I'm going to change this one to 100. And when we do 100, the condition is false before we execute the while loop. But when we run it here, you can see I get 105 from here. So means no matter condition true or false, I always get code executed once. That's the repeat while. So it is like a do while loop. I put a comment here. It says it's like it is equivalent. Not sure how to spell it. Equivalent to do while loop in other languages. This is the repeat while. Of course, let me change it to 0. Right, so that's the difference you know about while loop and do while loop. So in Python, in Swift we learn about the for loop, the while loop. Like any other languages, these two loops do the same thing. They just repeat the code. That's why we want to use loop. And which one do you use? It really depends on which one you prefer to. They all do the same thing. While for loop can be replaced with while loop, and a while loop can be replaced with for loop. They do the same thing. And these are the two loops, like other languages, for loop, while loop, to repeat the code. That's why we use loop.